everyone loves comfort food. It doesn't matter if you're an uncultured swine or a pretentious, self-described foodie, we all have those foods that send us right back to our childhoods and make us feel all nice and comfy. Of course, these actual foods will vary for most people, but the feeling you get is the same. There's just beauty in the simplicity. This is exactly how I feel about the Dragon Quest series, and I know I'm not alone. A lot of people refer to Dragon Quest as JRPG comfort food, so I want to try to explain why it often gets that label. By the time this video comes out, the remake for Dragon Quest III will either be releasing in a few days or have just come out. For those that are new to the series and are on the fence about this one, hopefully this video can give you a bit of an idea if the series is for you or not. And for those that are already a big fan of the franchise, let's just enjoy this little cozy look back at what makes these games so special. But first, let's cue the intro.
The light is your guide.
The dream is what keeps you going.
As a whole, the Dragon Quest series epitomizes the term, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's not to say the games never change. They just generally build upon the foundation of the previous game. Like, even if you had only played the first Dragon Quest, you would still know how to understand and play Dragon Quest XI to a basic level. Now, compare that to Square Enix's other long-running JRPG franchise. Going from Final Fantasy I to Final Fantasy XVI, it might as well be a completely different series. Not Dragon Quest though. This creates a strong sense of familiarity with each entry, so longtime fans always know what they're in for. This is where the comfort food analogy comes into play. You know what to expect, which gives you a cozy and nostalgic feeling. You know, I could just end the video here I guess, but let's actually talk about the elements that make Dragon Quest, Dragon Quest. Or maybe in this case, I should say, the ingredients. Since most of us have eyes here, let's start with the obvious, the Toriyama art style. RIP to the legend. His style is just so charming, it's like he has this Midas touch that anything he works on, people are just drawn to. Now, don't get me wrong, Dragon Quest would still be a very popular series even without Toriyama's involvement. I mean, it was the first JRPG ever after all. But make no mistake, his contributions have given the series a very strong visual identity that without a doubt has played a factor in many people's fascination with the franchise. As a fellow Toriyama fanboy, I can attest to this. It makes me feel like I'm playing medieval fantasy Dragon Ball and yeah, I just love it. The visuals themselves are always bright and vibrant too, which really stimulates my imagination. For those thinking this must mean the stories are all sunshine and rainbows though, think again. There's a lot of very emotional scenes and the series does not shy away from the concept of death and the grieving that comes with it. It's a series that knows good stories need stakes, so it's not afraid to tug at your heartstrings from time to time. If you want something super complex to borderline convoluted though, you won't find that here. The stories may be simple on paper, but they're executed well. Well, at least the later ones are. The first ones are literally just travel across the world and defeat evil guys, so yeah. That being said, I would argue the story itself isn't really a main focus in these games. It's more about the feeling you get when embarking on a grand adventure. It's a little bit like Pokemon in that sense actually, and kind of the E-series. In my opinion, very few JRPGs capture the spirit of adventure like Dragon Quest does. Besides the previous two examples, the only other ones that really compare I think are the Lunar series, Grandia, and Skies of Arcadia. I think the gradual unlocking of more exploration plays a big factor with this. I mean, you go from traversing on foot to ship to some type of flying creature and yeah, that progression is just really satisfying and adds a lot to the sense of adventure. The adventure feel is a big reason why I even play JRPGs, so there's a lot of coziness and comfort in this to me. Same with the music and the sound effects. The towns are lively and cheery, the overworld themes are adventurous, and yeah, it's just like quintessential fantasy music. I love how even the newer games keep all the same beeps and boops from the older games. All the cursor sounds and the resting at an end jingle and all that good stuff. Again, the series really prides itself on familiarity and tradition. With that said, however, I don't want to give off the idea the series never try to innovate or do anything different. Most games generally have some type of gimmick unique to that entry. For example, in Dragon Quest II, instead of fighting by yourself, you now get a party of 3. These 2 characters join you naturally in the game, but in Dragon Quest III, you create your own party with classes and characters you pick yourself. Dragon Quest IV has this chapter system where you play as different characters in each chapter and then they all team up at the end. Dragon Quest V has a monster recruiting mechanic, along with being able to fight with multiple generations of your family. Dragon Quest VII has a massive class system. Dragon Quest VIII and XI have these skill point systems, and yeah, you get the idea. The core structure of the gameplay, or the ingredients, never really change, but they just add a little bit of spice to each entree to make it a bit different than the last. It's like, instead of a grilled cheese sandwich with American cheese, we now have some pepper jack in there. Maybe we switch out that white bread for some rye or some pumpernickel even. It takes our familiar favorite and makes it a little bit different. It's almost like the best of both worlds. You know what to expect, but you're still gonna get something that sets it apart to a certain degree. Some people criticize the series for not innovating enough. However, I don't really see the problem with that. What's wrong with giving fans what they all know and love? I mean, how many people are still clamoring for a traditional Star Fox game, a traditional Metroid game, a traditional Mega Man game, a traditional 3D Zelda game, a traditional Final Fantasy game, if that even exists? Dragon Quest gives the fans what they want, and that's a big reason why so many people love it. It's a series by traditional JRPG fans, for traditional JRPG fans. It often gets recommended to newcomers to the genre, and don't get me wrong, it definitely is good for that. However, I also feel it's almost best appreciated by those who have played a lot of JRPGs. Sometimes we just want the basics, the staples, you know, the things that made us fall in love with the genre in the first place. For that, Dragon Quest has us covered. It doesn't try to bog you down with overly convoluted mechanics. It just gives you simple JRPG goodness. There's a time and place for the complex stuff, much like how there is for some fine dining, but we don't come to Dragon Quest for that. We come for some good old-fashioned home cooking, just like how Mom used to make. And that, my friends, is why I think Dragon Quest makes the perfect JRPG comfort food. Alright, and that about wraps up this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please either consider hitting that like button or subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. I know this was a way shorter video than usual, but yeah, we just wanted to get something quickly out around the release of Dragon Quest III. Whenever Dragon Quest XII comes out though, we'll do a bigger overview highlighting each entry similar to our videos about the Star Ocean series and the Tales of series. We've actually been in Japan the last few weeks, so yeah, haven't had as much time to work on content lately. Look at all this Dragon Quest shit I got though, man. I'm steadily filling out my Japanese Dragon Quest collection, and I'm pretty stoked. Combined with what I got on my previous trip, I almost have the whole mainline series now. I just love this Toriyama artwork, dude. It's so good. Since this is like the only video I'll ever be able to flex this on, peep the whole collection too. Yeah, I kind of like Dragon Quest if you couldn't tell. But yeah, how do you guys feel about the Dragon Quest series? Let us know in the comments below. As always, just want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters, and of course an extra special shout out to our top patrons, Chris Carnaccio, Derek Drost, Jesse Spencer, Jay Shaw Drums, Jump Rock, and Cyano. All of your support and generosity is very much appreciated. Other than that, thanks again for watching everyone, and hope you have an awesome day. This is Corbin from Gaming Productions. Until next time.